It's your lawn and garden Q&A. You used to call it Stay Grounded. There's one show I used to do called Get Growing. Maybe we need to rename this, give it a fresh new name, because coming up tomorrow, it's gonna be May. Bad. It's bad. Okay, so if you're wondering who I am, why I'm here, and what you will learn during this next half hour, my name is Frank Ferragini, aka Frankie Flowers of City TV's Breakfast Television and Cityline. I'm a 4-time best-selling garden author, a 4-time recipient of Landscape Ontario's Garden Communicator of the Year. I am a product of, I always joke, child labor, but my family has 2 garden centers, one in Bradford, one in Barrie, called Bradford Greenhouse's Garden Gallery. As well, we're greenhouse growers, growing lots of different annuals. So I have a lifetime of experience in the gardening world, but I'm also willing to learn. In each and every week, I do learn a little bit more about the garden. But I'm here to help. I'm here to motivate, here to inspire, here to answer questions, and here to help you during this upcoming garden season. The community that's on here as well is all here to help. Some of the questions that I don't get to, the community itself will get out there and get on there and answer, offering suggestions. So if you see some of the questions that are out there and you have the suggestion, you know the answer, you have some experience, please chime in. This is an open community that's out there as well. So we got some people already this morning saying good morning as well. We have Michelle Claire saying good morning already. You can just see the community here just wants to say good morning from Windsor. We have another beautiful good morning and shout out this morning from Madeline as well. Paula Polly, my good friend, good morning to you. Good Sunday morning. A rainy last few days, but there's some benefit to that as well. We got good morning from Ottawa. Just speaking about the rain. So when we have moist soil, it's a lot easier to go and weed. And it's really important that you get on top of your weeds early. So with soil being a little bit moist, it's a little looser. So those weeds will pull up out of your garden ever so much easier. The moisture itself, really good to get things growing. The cooler conditions, really important too, so that we can have slow growth. And that slow growth is very beneficial. Whereas when we had that little bump of heat, not good for plants. They grow fast, they grow soft. And with that, they actually have more threat of disease and insects. So this cool down, this wetter weather has been pretty decent overall. You don't want to walk on your lawn and or your garden if it's too soggy underfoot, because you'll create a little bit more compaction. But today is a great day just to be indoors and to learn as well. Speaking of which, just to get some of the things that I want to get to very quickly, I want to give a shout out to some of the wonderful plant sales. And you'll see that you can let me know what you have coming up in your area, and I will promote them. Richmond Hill Horticultural Society has been a wonderful horticultural society that's always supported me. Coming up on Saturday, May the 13th at the Senior Center, you have your plant sale that's happening, as well as there's the Garden Sunshine Rose. It's a beautiful, beautiful rose that all the proceeds about this rose will go to benefit the horticultural society that's there. If you want to check out more information, you can go to the Richmond Hill Horticultural Society. You can find more about Garden Sunshine roses as well. 300 were sold to gardeners in Richmond Hill in 2015. It's the Royal Botanical Gardens' new rose garden opened to the public in 2018, featuring a group of Garden Sunshine. That's a shout out to my friends at the Royal Botanical Gardens as well. So that's a little bit about that plant sale that's happening as well. So there are some additional plant sales that I wanted to tell you about, and where even if you want to find a plant sale in your area or want to see some of the upcoming events that are happening, always go in Ontario. If you're watching us in Ontario, you can go to Garden Ontario. So once again, this is gardenontario.org, and you can go to their events calendar. In the events calendar there, you can see that, in Stratford, there's Cook What You Grow coming up. There's a nice talk that's happening there. The Paris Horticultural Society has their monthly meeting coming up. There's a market happening as well that we can see at Victoria Parks, and that's in St. Catharines. There's a flower show and auction happening. There's the Oakville Horticultural Society as well. Lots of different events that you can check out. And then I want to give a shout out as well to another plant sale that's a really good plant sale, really fun plant sale as well, which is the one in Toronto, and that's at Toronto Botanical Gardens. And this one here is called, it's a fun name, it's called Plantapalooza, pop-up plant show sales markets. You can see it's kind of chaotic and crazy that's there. They're starting off in May the 5th, and that is for members only. The plant sale is on May the 6th. So that's next Saturday that's happening as well. So lots happening out there in the world of gardening, with May coming up right around the corner as well. We got some other shout outs this morning. We got a good morning from Aurora this morning. That is from Alyssa. We have a good morning this morning from my good friend Marlene Gregory. Good morning to you. Perry Sound. We got a good morning from Suzanne. Suzanne and Perry Sound. See you on Sunday in Perry Sound. Thank you for that, Suzanne. I'm going to see you on Sunday as well. And just to let you know, what is Sunday happening in Perry Sound? Happening Sunday, this next Sunday. So I will be doing the garden Q&A in the morning, but in the afternoon at 2 p.m., you can join me at the Stocky Center, which is an amazing, amazing theater that's really right on the waters of Georgian Bay. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about the wacky world of gardening. The whole idea of this talk is, we're going to have some fun. We're going to throw some jokes, but you're going to learn some tips and tricks as well. So it's coming up on May the 7th at 2 p.m. You can go to stockycenter.com for more information on that as well. So thanks for that reminder. You can see I was reminding myself to talk about that as well. We got a shout out this morning from Good Morning Dale from Cardinal on the beautiful St. Lawrence River. That is a beautiful area of the province. Good morning from Springwater this morning. That's Shelley. Good morning to you as well. That's out there. Springwater is a very large township just to the north of Barrie, and actually kind of hugs a whole bunch of area. It's a big spot, by the way. My family garden center, everybody thinks it's in Barrie. It's actually technically in Springwater Township. Got to grab the coffee that's here. Just before we say more good mornings, word of caution, even though we are getting into the month of May, we still have to remind ourselves that for many plants that we go to the garden center and we get excited when we go to a garden center, many of those plants can't be planted outdoors yet. Things like impatiens, tomatoes, peppers, even geraniums. If we get temperatures below the freezing mark, they're not going to do well outdoors. As a matter of fact, many of them will die from frost. And Jack Frost is the culprit. So it's very important for you to find out your average last frost date. Southern Ontario, down into Windsor, into Toronto, I always feel comfortable about May the 15th. As soon as you start to get up through just north of Highway 89, that's when I'm more comfortable near the end of May. And then when we get into Northern Ontario, I'm end of May and beginning of June where I'm comfortable. But we never know. We've had temperatures below the freezing mark into the month of June, right across Southern Ontario. And even if you're watching us in Quebec and you're watching us in other provinces, super important to really know that. However, what we can do this weekend, if we're growing our own food, is we can do some direct sowing out into the garden, because we do have a lot of rain that's happening right now. So the soil's nice and moist. So we could go out and direct sow things like carrots and onions. You could actually do some spinach, some radishes. If you want to do direct sow on some lettuces, you can do that as well. So we could do some direct sow on some of the cool crops that are out there. If you really want some color in containers and you want to do the early color, you could do pansies, violas, osteospermum, dusty miller. Those guys all can take some of the cooler temperatures. However, in the summer, they don't really like the heat. So they're really not they're more of a early spring to fall kind of bloom that they do very well and very vibrant. So you may have to do an additional planting if you're going to be planting those. But those are just some of the kind of points and tips that I kind of wanted to give you this morning. Good morning from Newmarket, not too far from me. That's where I was born. Sharon, Ontario, not too far from me as well. Good morning from you. Bob Foster, what are you saying today, Bob? Back from Aruba. Do you know if there is software where you can take a photo of your garden, a template, you can plant flowers and vegetables and see what it looks like before and after? I do. And I got to remember the name of that one because I have that landscape. It's a landscape app. And it is, which landscape app is that? Let me see here, guys. I'm just going to go across and I'm going to see if I still have it on my, oh, there it is. That's my lawn. I'll look it up for you. There are several ones that are out there that are apps that you can take. If I'm remembering, I think it was, I got to remember which one it was because actually, let me see. I'm going to do a little bit of research while I'm talking here, guys. Landscape app. There are so many ones that are out there. They can do that, and you can plot in your flowers, and you can really kind of enjoy kind of that design as well. iScape, that was the one. So if you take a look, there's an app called iScape. I've used it before many times. Great app where it actually has a database as well of pictures and even hardscapes. Like even it will have different walkways and different fencing materials where you can take the picture of a front of a yard, and then you can plot in what you want the gardens to look like, or different plant material that you can put in there so you can get an idea of what it looks like. So once again, that's iScape. So check that out. That's a really good question out there as well. I haven't used it in a little bit of time. I've been too busy writing and doing other things. I'd like to do a little bit more design that's coming up as well. We got a good morning from Lyle. Maria, good morning to you out there as well. Elaine, I think Elaine has a question here. Hey, Frankie, as a nursery family, why would Ontario Nursery sell what have been identified as an invasive plant? Goutweed, lily of the valley, burning bush, Manitoba maple, etc. So many of these plant materials that are invasive now are being taken away from many garden centers out there. So what happens is some of these plants in their native area, do very well. And so let's take goutweed, for instance. It's a plant that did very well in its native area, and it does have a place in the garden if used appropriately. Goutweed's one that's really invasive. So to be used appropriately, it's very hard, but a reminder that a weed is just an undesired plant. The reason why goutweed, many nurseries would carry them, is that there was a demand, there was an ask, there was a want for them. And goutweed specifically has that beautiful variegated foliage. However, what a lot of people don't know is that it does become a root that becomes a runner root and then can go into the lawn and can suffocate a lot of native species that are out there. So right now there is a battle between ornamental and native. And really, like our population, if you look at the population of Canada, the population of Canada is multicultural. And so we got to make sure that we really protect our history and our native plants and everything and anything in between in terms of wildlife species that's out there. So now what we are doing is we're having a greater appreciation, a greater knowledge as we're learning during the course of years that many of these plants, for instance, purple loosestrife. Purple loosestrife is one that's now banned. That was a plant that was sold at one time in garden centers. Mint is another one that should be on that list as well. Mint is a perennial herb that is invasive, but when planted in the right location, can provide people with, mint does have some medicinal value as well as it has culinary value. So there is some value that's out there. So it's the right plant in the right place is really what's important. And then designing a garden that really works with nature and works with your wants and needs, but there's a balance that's out there. That's why we have to create a balance. So the simple answer is, why were they sold? People wanted them. And so garden centers were looking and finding plant material that people wanted. Now that people have become more aware, and now we know more about these plants, because sometimes we jump too fast before really finding out. Now what we're doing is we're curating these plant lists and trying to get rid of some of those invasive species. Manitoba maple should never been. I've never seen it for sale at a garden center. Manitoba maple is a maple that everybody needs to be aware of, because sometimes people are like, oh, look at that. There's a beautiful tree growing. And that beautiful tree is a Manitoba maple, which has somewhat of a maple leaf, but not really. It actually has a serrated leaf like the maple leaf. But it's a fast growing maple, crazy fast growing, but it's also got weak branches. So it can cause foundation damage to your home. It can actually, those branches can come down and cause extreme harm. So as soon as you see that, you want to get rid of it. So I just want to show people what a Manitoba maple looks like to make you aware too, because a lot of times I see people leave these in their garden. I'm just going to type this in, Manitoba maple. We're just going to do some images that are here. Boom. It's also known as the box elder maple. And this is kind of what the leaf looks like. So it doesn't truly look like a full leaf. I'm just going to go here on Naturist. So there we go. So we're going to take a look here and we're going to show you this. Sorry guys that I'm giving you a little bit of like, boom, you guys are seeing it live in action, but we're going to pull this up for you. So this is and you can find out more about Manitoba maples, but you can see on this picture that's right here, that that leaf is not really what appears to be a maple leaf, but it does have that serrated edge. You can see it has a cluster of 3 leaves, which is a really easy way to identify the Manitoba maple. And you can see how it branches, how those 3 clusters come on a branch. So you can see that branch that looks. There's some other nice identifiers. That's a look at the bark, so when they become mature. But this is such a fast-growing plant that tree is so soft wood that many arborists, that's a look at a Manitoba maple, and it also has these keys. It's a messy tree. But many arborists will not climb a Manitoba maple because they are extremely dangerous. There's the keys that come off the Manitoba maple. And this is the reason why it actually can produce so easily, and why once it gets to an area, it spreads these keys out and it comes all over the place. Like, it really produces out there. And it's also a big source of pollen as well. So I would love to eradicate the world of Manitoba maples. I would completely love to eradicate the world of that. So really good question, by the way. We have another question out there. Good morning, Frank. I'm sick and tired of my lawn. It sounds like you've been broken. It's always nice in May and June, and then the heart of July and August, it's doom. I've decided to add clover this year. Any suggestions? So first off, lawns generally look good in spring and fall. And if you're wondering why lawns are so beautiful and so green in in spring and fall, is that your lawn is a cool temperature plant. So your lawn loves cool nights, cooler days, more moisture. That's what we're getting now. We also get it again in fall. In July and August, once the temperature gets really hot, we get less rain, your lawn will naturally turn itself brown to go into dormancy. How can we prevent it from going in extreme brown or causing big harm? Super key is in the summer months is to cut your lawn at a greater height. So you're cutting your lawn at around 4 inches. So that's super duper important as well. 3 feedings per season is also a great way to make sure that your lawn is going to do very well. So for instance, with my lawn, I just put on the Green Max. So that's the Scott's Turf Builder Green Max, and that's the one that has iron. So I just put that on 10 days ago. In the July 1st weekend, I'll put Summer Guard fertilizer on, which is a summer fertilizing. And then on Thanksgiving weekend, that's when I'll put down a fall. So I'll put the Scott's Fall Lawn Food that goes down at that time. That fertilizer will give it enough energy. Plus the cutting height is super important out there. And then some occasional watering will be benefit if you want a lawn. Now with clover, the only clover that you would maybe want to mix in with your existing lawn right now is a white clover. White clover is the best clover for mixed lawns, meaning where you're mixing your lawn and clover together. Clover is soft to walk on. You usually cut your lawn before the clover goes into flower. It's fairly hardy as well. In the summer months, it can take a little bit more drought tolerance. There are some different lawn mixture seeds that are out there too that are more heat resistant. So if you're looking for a lawn that is better in summer months, you don't want to do a lawn which has a high percentage of Kentucky blue. You want to look at more fescues and rye. So I hope I answered that question there for you well as well. Here we go with another question this morning from Shelley. What is a fast-growing tree for berry, and when is the best time to plant? So best time to plant is in spring and fall. So now, because we do have cool temperatures, lots of moisture, plants, if you were planting, like you can do trees and shrubs and perennials as long as your garden's not too wet. If it's too mucky, you gotta let it dry out a little bit. And many of the gardens in Ontario, because of the amount of rain have seen, can be a little bit on the mucky side. We want to stay away from extremely fast-growing plant material. We want to get good plant material. So what I would love to do, Shelley, is I would first love to see a picture of where you want to plant. What is the mature height that you want to get? And then as well, is it shade that you're looking for? What is the function of this tree, and what is the purpose of this tree? There are some beautiful trees that are out there. For instance, a nice growing, which is a fairly quick growing, but not too fast, is some of the Acer rubrum, which is the red maples. The red maples are not a red maple during the entire season. They actually have a green leaf. They're native, but as well, they actually turn a beautiful red fall color. So there are many different, there's red sunset maple. Red sunset maple is a beautiful maple, but I need to see where you're planting it, what the purpose of it, and what the mature height is. Because sometimes we just go out there, think about fast, quick, and try to solve this problem. But by solving one problem, we can cause future problems. So Shelley, my email, I can give that to you right now. I'll pop that up for you guys. It's right here. So my email, you can see just right there at the bottom, is frankie@frankieflowers.com. Once again, it's frankie@frankieflowers.com. If you go to my website, frankieflowers.com, and this is for everybody, if you can go to the bottom of the website, take a look and check out the newsletter. So signing up for the newsletter. The newsletter will be coming out this week. So if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, please do so. Fun facts about May that's coming up there. There's an excellent tip about growing tomatoes. You'll also see an excellent tip out there about some of the damage on your lawn. I have a review of a nice wine, because I have a Two Sisters talk that's coming up. Speaking of the Two Sisters talk as well, those tickets just got released yesterday. So Susan, that's here right now, and others that have been asking me, you can go to the Two Sisters website today, and you can see the garden party with Frankie Flowers. That's Sunday, May the 28th. These tickets were just released yesterday. So those tickets, they're $65, but the $65 is not just to see me. You actually get some wine, you'll get some appetizers, you'll get to see a whole bunch of planters that will be constructed. And at the same time, there's a bunch of prizes that are given away. So it's a very great value to have some wine tasting, and as well as some food and some fun with me. And once again, that's May the 28th. So if you go to Two Sisters Winery, that is Two Sisters Vineyard, twosistersvineyard.com, and take a look at their events. You can then go and join me in beautiful Niagara on the Lake. So that's a good question that we had there. And once again, time to plant. April into early May, really good time to plant. The time that really plants stress is when we start to get to mid-June into July. Those hot summer months are the hardest on plants, especially things that are newly planted. So if you're thinking about, if you plant in June, mid-June, and then you're going away to the cottage for a bunch of weeks and nobody's around to water, and we have a drought period, like a time where we don't have rain, we're going to have extreme problems that are out there. Frankie, is this no mow legit? So the key is we don't want our lawn to get too tall. So if our lawn is too tall and then it falls over, the grass blades fall over, will cause harm to the lawn itself and the health to our lawn. Leaving our lawn a little bit taller and not skimming the lawn right away is really beneficial for some of the beneficial insects that are out there. I have already mowed my lawn because it got pretty tall. And with that, I didn't want the blades of grass, but I'm mowing my lawn right now at a cutting height of 3 on my lawnmower. So I would not do anything below a 3, and I would even consider cutting at a 4, but between 3 and 4 in terms of cutting height. You can still cut, and it's been an earlier spring, so we've had an earlier warm up, and with that, we've actually had, and now with the moisture, the rain, and if you have fertilized, your lawn has grown. So there is some benefit to cutting it for the health of the lawn that's out there. So a lot of the advice where you hear about the no mow is for those that are skimming the lawn. That's actually causing harm to some of the plants that are out there, the insects that are out there that are in your lawn or that are looking for early pollen sources. So right now, in the past, we'd be concerned about an early pollen source for many of the different beneficial bees. Like there's 400 different bee species that are out there. So at that time, there'd be a greater desire to allow dandelions to flower and not to remove them and leave them on your lawn. But because things flowered so early, if you look around right now, we have our spring flowering bulbs. I can see tulips, daffodils, they're blooming. Forsythia are blooming. Magnolias are blooming. All our fruit tree species are blooming right now. Cherry blossoms are blooming right now. There's a lot of flower source out there. So I wouldn't be too concerned about the no cut in May. Make sure that you really pay attention to your cutting height. It's really super important that's out there. Garden Ontario is some great advice. Garden Ontario is an excellent website if you want to find out about the horticultural societies, plant sales, events, joining a horticultural society, finding out more about communities in bloom. I want to shout out as well. On May the 28th, I will be at Two Sisters Winery on May the 27th, Saturday, May the 27th, from 11 to 1. You can go to Bradford Greenhouse's Garden Gallery in Barrie, Ontario. That's my family garden center. I will be there alongside of the city of Barrie, promoting communities in bloom and promoting the color purple to plant purple. So if you want to come see me at my family garden center on the 27th of May from 11 to 1, free, I'll be there answering questions and offering advice. So I have some busy times that are coming up. Miriam, good morning, my friend Miriam. How are you today? The weather looks good. I think I can go to RBG today. By the way, Frankie, do you have a yellow magnolia in your greenhouse? Would you please let me know? Thanks a lot. I don't know if we have any inventory of yellow magnolia in stock, but Miriam, I will check, and I have your email address, so I will find out for you as well. Inventories at garden centers at this time of the year are really difficult because there's such a demand. So you could bring in, let's say that you brought in 20 yellow magnolias. Well, within a day, those 20 yellow magnolias could sell because you get 20 different people that come in wanting the same plant. And sometimes some of the plants that we see in magazines or even on Instagram create an extra demand. And because of that, those plants sell out quick. So, always check with your local garden center about inventory, and also be very kind if they say that, on a Wednesday, they said, yeah, we had yellow magnolias in, and then you came on a Sunday and there's none there. Things sell out quickly. It's almost like Marshalls right now. Marshalls are winners. When you go there and you see something that you like, first off, make sure you need it, right? There's the want and the need. With the need is making sure that plant fits where it's growing, fits your property, and it's not just a pretty plant. And make sure you need it for some reason. And if you need it and it's priced right, get it, because it could be gone quickly. Mark T. Worth, rose planting, is it too early to plant from Thorold? So it really depends, Mark. So many of the roses that you'll see for sale at garden centers have already been hardened off. So if you're going to purchase your rose right now and you see that it's not in full leaf and there's roses, if there's roses already on a rose and you're seeing it for sale, that there has been forced in a greenhouse to look in flower. And if you were to plant it and we were to drop below freezing, that could be a concern. Thorold, of course, you're a little bit closer towards the lake. So your risk of frost as we're getting into the month of May is far less. So you could plant that rose, but if we had a temperature that is hovering around freezing at night, what I recommend is just get a big bucket, place the bucket over that rose with a rock for that evening, and then that would just protect it enough from frost. It's a perfect time to plant, but just be weary if it has been forced, that you're still providing it some protection if we're getting really cold at night. Shelly, good morning from beautiful Oakville this morning. Good morning from Oakville. We'll go from the west of the city of Toronto to east of the city of Toronto and say good morning to Coburg out there this morning as well. Patty, here we go. Patty maybe has a question. Full moon is in early May this year, so will it be safe to plant flowers and veggies? So there was always the thought about that first full moon in May is when it's safe to plant. Really, it's weather that is our maker. So if we have no frost, and if we take a look, I'm just going to go up and pull up Environment Canada's 7-day EC weather, Toronto. And we'll just do Toronto, for example. And I'm not playing any favoritism here whatsoever. So we have a fog advisory actually in the city of Toronto. If we go, and I'm just going to share this with you guys so we can take a look at this forecast together. So if we look at this forecast together for the city of Toronto, and we take a look, and we're looking at, average daytime highs are in the low double digits, which is fine for planting cool crops. Like I said, direct sow of vegetables. You can even get out there and plant some probably cabbage and cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, even some of the lettuces you probably get away with. The overnight temperatures, we're seeing 6-5 degrees. That's good. But for warm crops like squash, peppers, tomatoes, they're not going to like it that cool at night. Actually, they'll actually stunt them by a little bit as well. So we need that overnight temperature to warm. But we're frost free over at least the next 6 to 7 days. So we're frost free. We have a lot of rain that we see coming through as well. But planting trees and shrubs, perennials, I would feel comfortable with, and those cool crops I would. But some of the warm crops, I wouldn't feel comfortable until we are seeing our daytime high above that 15-degree mark and our overnight low hovering above at least 8 degrees. But as long as we're frost-free, we can get away with planting a lot of things. but we're still early, guys. We're still early. And so with that early moon phase, you can pay attention to the moon phase and let that rule you. But if we have a cold night, you're still going to have to cover up. But on that early main moon, if you want to go out and plant with the moon phases and you're growing your own vegetables, go out there and direct sow seeds right in the garden of radishes, spinach, as I've been mentioning. You could even do a direct sow of Swiss chard. You can do carrots, you can do onions, you can do beets. You can do any of your root vegetable parsnips. You can do all those that are out there as well. Good morning from Kawartha Lakes. Good morning to you as well this morning. We're sitting at 30 minutes right now. I'm going to answer two questions here. Valerie, took my huge basket fig tree out of the garage. It got frostbite. Will it die? I would just give it a pruning back. It shouldn't die. It'll probably knock it back a bit. Depends on how bad a frostbite it got. But I prune it all back by a third. Any of those leaves that got frostbite, remove those leaves, prune it back all by a third. It can take a little bit of frost. Most fig trees can take a little bit of frost, not too much. Ashley, I got to answer your email, by the way. Any suggestions on green ground spreader for rocky dirt in zone 4, full to partial sun, south facing? Thank you so much for all your knowledge. I'd love to see a picture of this, Ashley, if you can send that to me, because it's full sun, full to partial sun, south facing. I'd like to see exactly, because we may be looking at some sedum stone crop, but it depends on what time and how many hours of light you're receiving. If you're receiving at least 6 hours of direct sunlight in the afternoon, look at some of the stone crops, some of the sedums and some of the stone crops. They're fantastic for that purpose. And then the question that we have here, Kathy DeVoe, good morning. Do you have any white hostas at the greenhouse? We have some white hostas that are fairly variegated, so they're almost variegated fully white. But once again, I have to go check some of the inventory that's there. I haven't been to the garden center in the last 4 days. My son's there this morning. So I don't fully know, but generally we do carry them in. So thank you for that question. I'm going to end it right there. We're at 32 minutes. To all those that joined me on this garden Q&A, I hope you guys have a blooming great week. We're off into the month of May. Check out my website, frankieflowers.com. There's always some great information that's there. You can watch me Monday through Friday on breakfast television as well. I hope to see you at the Stocky Center next Sunday. That's Sunday afternoon in Parry Sound. If you can't visit me in Parry Sound, you have that chance at the end of the month to see me at Two Sisters Winery. Lots going on. And I just hope you guys have a blooming great day and stay safe, stay healthy. Rainy days, you know what a rainy day is for a gardener? That's a day when you can get your housework done inside. Yeah. I'm going to go clean